generative AI.
Hi guys. Very excited to be here today. Thank you, Crossmedia. Thank you, Brand Innovators. Great partners as usual. As she said, we're here to talk about something no one's ever heard of, which is generative AI and how it relates in terms of creative and media in the modern marketing world. I'll just go ahead and introduce myself if you're not familiar with Attain. We are a measurement and data platform with the largest and most trusted consumer purchase panel in the US. So if you're interested in understanding if your media is effective in driving sales, look for me and my colleague Ryan right here, and we'd love to chat. Angela, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Brand Innovators and Crossmedia for having me. So I figured I would introduce myself to a few of you who I don't know and why I'm here talking about creative and media optimization and GenAI. So I'm Angela Sobol. I have been in media and marketing for 17 years, and my spiel is I've been on every side of the deal. I've been media agency, publisher, social platform, and now brand at Unilever. And most of that time has always been on the media side of things. So this is where I'm going to just switch us right into the topic. I mean, with media, I think everybody in the room knows you can optimize based upon engagement signals, whether that's performance or awareness campaigns. We have steady streams that we can do. Creative is something different. We kind of have to go get it straight away. I mean, we saw Nutter Butter. Everyone has something different to think about that, whether it's going to work or not. And it's just different today, especially from the digital side of things. And creative pre-testing is available, but it's really been for more linear TV, high production value. Digital has been much harder, but that is until now. We have things that are changing. So I currently lead U Studio, which is Unilever's in-house digital creative agency, and we're using GenAI in a lot of different ways, but in one big way is we have the opportunity to do creative pre-testing for the digital world. In addition, we can also do in-flight optimization. So all of a sudden, you have media optimization, creative optimization coming together, and that makes big changes for performance, and that's huge for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's great to hear that you guys are leaning into GenAI. Obviously, I think a lot of us tend to get a little bit scared or hesitant when it comes to these new things, especially with AI. So it's great, again, that you guys are leaning in. Obviously, this is a huge topic. I think at every conference I've been to this year, Gen AI is like the buzzword. If it was a drinking game, we'd all be passed out. So how has Gen AI transformed the way that Unilever is approaching creative and media content, and why?
And I think you can answer this a couple different ways. I'm going to answer it from the creative side of things. And so let's first talk about the media trends, which I'll go into, that we're seeing and how that affects advertisers, and especially what advertisers in the CPG world need to deliver. So we're seeing two big trends. You probably have heard of them from the digital media side, the convergence of retail media, social media, and content, and then personalization at scale. So if you know how to talk to consumers, they want you to be able to talk to them. This is what they're expecting. I mean, again, I'll use the Nutter Butter. They expect to hear something for them, especially as younger generations. And that's really, really challenging and hard to do. But if you get it right, you can convert them right there on the platform, right where they're consuming, and make big changes to your full funnel campaigns. So that gives us three things that advertisers need to think about when you are utilizing these trends. The first is, do I have enough content that's coming out to put out in the world? How much does it cost to make this content? And then is it actually working? And we are using GenAI as a powerful tool to answer all three of these things more effectively and efficiently.
Amazing. So it sounds like it's definitely changing the way that you're working for the better. I'm curious, how does your team measure the effectiveness and success of AI-driven content?
It's a great question, and this is where you can say everything is different, but honestly, it's really the same, right? So from any creative side, you're going to have to measure and weigh your production value with how much it actually costs to make. So let's start there to answer the question. So if you're looking at the media trends, all of a sudden, all right, you've made the decision, I don't have enough content, so I got to start producing more for all these different target audiences that I have that want a personalized message. All of a sudden, again, your costs are going to skyrocket here. And that's going to be your main kind of barometer or evaluation criteria on success. The cost, the speed, and efficiency from the creative side on measuring. Then let's add in the engagement signals that we all love so much. With Gen AI and even AI with connection on the back end, advertisers have a lot more opportunities to kind of evaluate their success for short-term and long-term ROI. So now let's bring these together. We are using GenAI and also modular creative techniques. If you've heard of that, it's another AI kind of tool in the toolbox. And we've seen huge kind of successes here from the cost, the speed, the efficiency, and then the performance value. Performance is just as good, if not sometimes better in a lot of the cases.
That makes sense. Now, on the other side of things, answer for our audience this. What are some of the challenges that you have encountered in using Gen AI? Obviously, again, it's so prevalent today, but it is new, and there are nuances on how to make it effective in terms of delivering that personalization to consumers. So what are those challenges that you've seen, and how are you guys addressing them?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's all new, right? And that's a really scary thing. So the answer is operations, the operations workflow. So you have new partners from these Gen AI tools, and there's several of them. You then have new ways of creating content. How you actually even review and provide feedback and do iterative processes on Gen AI, that is completely different. And it's really hard for some brand teams to kind of wrap their heads around. And for instance, you might have a platform that allows you to iterate. So every single time you're producing content, you can make a change with someone. Maybe Em and I are going to just sit and review and make changes. Or you have a platform where you have to start from scratch every single time. So if you had that nitpicky review, how do you actually do that in the Gen AI tool? Then you are going to kind of think about, lost my setup. Oh, the media and creative teams coming together. So again, I'm talking about media teams and creative teams being able to optimize together. But this is a whole new way of working. We always were, I've been on both sides of the equation now. We're kind of always doing our own thing. We talk to each other, but always friendly competition, right? So now you're asking them to come together, optimize in real time, and that's hard. So you have to have a really strong leader and a steward saying, let's make this work, bringing everybody together, have a North Star. And again, it's a huge challenge. It's all change management, but it can definitely be done.
Sounds like a lot of collaboration.
A lot of collaboration.
We love that. That's great. So I'm sure that there is a fine line, something I'm super interested in as, we continue to work with Gen AI. How are you maintaining brand authenticity while including or using, I should say, AI-generated content?
I mean, it seems complicated, but it's really not. You need to know your brand ethos. You have to stick with it. So that's my first part. You really have to talk as a team and make sure everyone is aware about what you want, who you are, and what you're going to say. And then the second, you have to be besties with legal, right? So even if you don't love them, you need to pretend that you love them because they're going to, and I do. Legal has always been right there with me. We think differently, and I appreciate that. You need to know about the legal risks on new tools, especially with Gen AI. But then you need to also know about reputational risk. And this is our biggest factor when it comes to new tools such as AI and Gen AI. What are the things that we need to think about? Where are the disclosures that need to be? And then what brands are willing to do what? So our big conversation that we talk a lot about is lifelike imagery. I'm sure you all have seen the amazing concepts that can happen from a Gen AI tool. But is that right for every brand? Are you going to do it? So for instance, if you have a brand that is all about real beauty, you might say, I'm never going to do Gen AI for humans. I'm not going to say background images, maybe some textures potential, but lifelike imagery, I might not do that. And we have Unilever's put a couple articles out in Ad Age about this. But if you're on the flip side, you're nutrition, and I'm doing a lot of recipe content, am I going to have a hand? I might say I want a hand in the background. What about a blurry human lifelike imagery that's pretending to be a chef? Is that okay? I might do a real photo shoot on the recipes, but those background images. And that's a conversation you have to have brand by brand. Over time, it can change and develop as the tools change and develop as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great point about, really focusing on the brand ethos. Obviously, it's a brand-first approach, and that's why Unilever's brands are so prevalent, obviously, today and so well-loved. So that totally makes sense. In thinking about your role at U Studio, what new skills or roles have you guys added or rolled out to successfully integrate AI into the creative optimization process?
Absolutely. So we've trained our entire team about 35 people in the U.S. on GenAI tools, and there's multiple that we use. But the biggest new skill we've created or added to our team is prompt engineers. And these are our creative teams and our content development teams who already have awesome content and creativity, and they're producing amazing things day to day. But now you give them a tool to make it faster, bring to life even things that they didn't think about. So that's the biggest change. Prompt engineering. At Unilever, we have access to various things, and that's a hard skill, and it really has to be something you need to learn and train on.
Absolutely. I think leaning into the strengths of the creative studio while integrating Gen AI is obviously kind of like the secret sauce there, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still nerve-wracking. It's still new, but we're getting there. It changes basically daily.
Yes. Yes. We'll be having a different conversation tomorrow, I'm sure. And then finally, we'll wrap up with what are you most excited about when it comes to the future of Gen AI?
I'm a little bit of a nerd. I really need to see the full picture, beginning, the end, even if it's not, we don't know it yet, because that helps me anticipate what my clients need, what my teams need, what our partners need, and I can answer those questions and get ahead of it. So operations is what I'm excited about. Again, super challenging, but it doesn't mean that we're removing people, but we're removing layers, and I think everybody can be really happy about that.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Angela. This was
Thank
great.
you,
I'm
Emma.
excited to keep watching Unilever and see what you guys are doing. It was not easy following that Nutter Butter TikTok, but I think we did
We
it.
did it.
So thank you again, and thank you, brand innovators.
Awesome. Thank you all.